Welcome, Tanya. So today we are following a similar format. This is the fifth session of this particular series during this lockdown. And Annette Marlow will be taking us through a mindfulness session. And then Amelia is going to be talking a little bit about wellbeing and lifestyle. And at the end, we will encourage you to unmute and give us some feedback. We're also interested if there are any topics that you're wanting us to cover. Please put any information in the chat, and you're also able to register as well on our website if you want us to continually update you about the different sessions that we're doing in this space. So without further ado, I will welcome Annette to take us through a mindfulness session, and then Amelia to do a bit of a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dori. Welcome everyone, welcome back. We couldn't go another week without you, so we're here again. And I think that this week it's important to acknowledge that there is a definite sense of struggle out there, almost a palpable feeling of everyone feeling a bit exhausted, a bit over it. There's so many differences in opinions going on, and there's a lot of worry and agitation, and the list goes on. So I think it's really important that we do take a little bit more of a gentle approach on ourselves during this time, and even in today's mindful meditation, to really acknowledge that things are a little tougher, and rather than trying to suppress anything you feel or avoid anything that you feel, simply try and allow it, or at least acknowledge it, whether it's uncomfortable or comfortable, whether it's good or bad, whether you like it or not. Just see if you can make room for it and perhaps breathe into it, or sometimes we even say you can make friends with it and befriend it, allowing it to be there, perhaps even imagining it's just sitting beside you like a little friend. And I think before we get into that mindful meditation today, what we'll do is we'll do a few rounds of diaphragmatic breathing. Often in times like this, it's really hard to even settle ourselves down for meditation. So I'll guide you through a counting breathing to help us just settle down before we move into a mindful meditation. So if I can invite you all now to just begin to settle and get comfortable. And in our diaphragmatic breathing, what we're trying to do is actually calm down our nervous system. So I'll count you through an inhalation and I'll count you through an exhalation. And then after a few rounds of that, we'll just come back into our normal breathing rhythm. So it's a bit of purposeful breathing, something that you can turn to at any time during the day when you're feeling yourself getting a little bit tightened. So let's just begin joining in when you can. We'll take a breath in for a count of 4. You'll retain the breath at the top for a count of 1, and then you'll exhale for a count of 6. If you can't keep up with that, no stress, just do what you can manage. So joining in when you can, we'll take a breath in, trying to see if you can fill your belly for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, empty your breath, inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, letting go a little more. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, pause. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, empty. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, pause. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, empty. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, pause. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if you can just come into your own natural breathing rhythm. So we don't need to manipulate our breath. We're just settling here, settling into present moment awareness, awake, alert, present. And then if you haven't already, you can begin to close down your eyes or lower your gaze and just bring your awareness to the space between your eyebrows or slightly in front of your eyes. This is a resting point for your awareness. Just settling there. Seeing if you can ensure your shoulders are relaxing, your mouth, jaw, and eyes are soft. And then if you can bring your attention to any sounds coming to you from outside, just listening. Allow sounds to come, allow them to go by. No need to judge the sounds or analyse them, just listening. And then allowing your attention to focus on sounds close by, inside of the room or next to the room, perhaps even nearby you, maybe even the sound of your own breath. And then taking a deeper focus on your breathing now, to observe any elements that you notice without trying to change or force anything, just noticing the breath. Might be the feeling or sensation of air passing in and out of your nostrils, or maybe it's the feeling of your belly rising and falling. Simply following each breath, moment to moment. Making room and space for anything that arises. Open without judgment, without expectations, and with a sense of ease. And remember that if your mind wanders off, it's perfectly normal and expected. It's not unusual to experience discomfort, boredom, impatience, or agitation. But we're going to see if we can simply acknowledge, allow it, perhaps even befriend it. And if we can bring our awareness now to the center of our being, this is the area of our body where we house a lot of our emotions and feelings. And when we tune in, we can really feel them in our body. So with a willingness to perhaps notice any body sensations, just begin to bring your awareness into your throat. So what you're doing is you're feeling around your throat, curiously exploring any sensations that you may notice there. They might be subtle, it might be strong, or you may not notice anything at all. As you feel into your throat, also feel the ebb and flow of your breath. And then bring your awareness a little further down into the center of your chest, perhaps across the chest and around your heart. And again, feeling for any sensations. Sometimes we notice a tightness there or some tension, a resistance to the full exchange of oxygen. Perhaps it's a warmth or a comforting feeling of ease. And as you feel in and around your chest, also notice in the background the feeling of your breath. And then moving the awareness down into your upper belly, also known as the solar plexus. Again, observing for any sensations. Might be nothing. Might be a shakiness, a tightness. Just allowing whatever comes into your awareness. And then moving lower down into your belly, around, in front of and behind your navel. Feeling and noticing for any sensations. Trying not to judge it or analyse it. Just noticing. And then expand your awareness to that whole feeling line. A little of your throat, chest, solar plexus and lower belly. Just keeping company, anything that you notice. Sometimes a slight lift of your mouth, a little smile can lift the intensity, lighten the load. Just resting in this awareness. As we come towards the end of this mindful meditation, allow your breathing to become a little stronger and start to reactivate your body, wiggling your fingers, your toes. Perhaps take a stretch overhead and just take a moment to also reflect and acknowledge what you experienced, perhaps what you noticed. And then we'll just take a moment if you want to stand up and do some little groovy moves before we hand over to Amelia. All right, so I'll pass you over now to Amelia. Thank you, Amelia. Welcome.
Thanks, Annette. I love your idea of doing some groovy moves. That brought a smile to my face as I imagined everybody doing their groovy moves, and particularly me doing mine, but that's another topic maybe for next week. So today we thought we'd talk a little bit about well-being and lifestyle. And part of what Annette was saying earlier was that, you know, for many people at the moment, things have been pretty tough for a while. Some are struggling, some are doing better than others. Those of us in Vic are watching enviously as people in other states are enjoying their lifestyle in a different way than we are. So I wanted just to talk a little bit about this and about, I guess, how we can really encourage active participation in our own well-being by having a look at some lifestyle factors. And this is a topic that I'm really quite passionate about, which you can possibly tell. I talk to a lot of clients about purpose, and they always want to know, I don't know what my purpose is. What's my purpose in life? I need to have a purpose. And for me, I think the idea of purpose is actually very, very simple. It's just about learning how to live really well. And when we look at well-being and lifestyle, we kind of have a formula for living well. And why do we want to live well? Well, we need to take care of our bodies so that we can feel good and we can function well, but also so that we can be there for others and we can connect to others. So let's go on and have a little bit of a look at what do we mean by well-being. So we can define well-being as being how you feel, how you function, and also how you evaluate your own life. So how you're feeling emotionally, how you're actually getting along day to day, and how you're looking back at your personal situation and I guess making judgments on that, whether they might be more positive or more negative depending on how things are going for you. And here's the well-being continuum, I guess we would call it, and we're all somewhere along this continuum at any one time. So we would really define well-being as that state of feeling good, functioning well, and having mental illness. That's when really we're feeling bad and we're functioning really poorly. And it's a bit of a dance of life, kind of looking after yourself and making sure that you're landing somewhere along this continuum that feels good for you. So I invite you all now just to, you know, reflect a little bit on where you are today, because how we're feeling and functioning can, you know, really fluctuate, particularly at the moment. Thinking about where you are today on a 1 to 10 scale, with 1 being feeling really bad and not functioning well at all, and 10 being feeling great and functioning really well. Just have a think about where you might rate yourself on the wellbeing continuum at the moment. And we will come back to this towards the end of the session and maybe have a little bit of a discussion about where people are. So I'm presenting here a model which comes from the lifestyle medicine movement. And this is an evidence-based approach to health and well-being. And it's all about replacing unhealthy behaviours with positive ones that can help us to feel good and to have our bodies functioning well as well. So there's 6 key areas that you can see here in the model. We've got healthful eating, physical activity, managing stress, maintaining relationships, improving your sleep, and avoiding risky substances. So we'll start off talking a little bit about nutrition. So this is a really important area, and there's lots and lots of exciting research coming out around the links between our diets and our gut health and the impact on our mental well-being. And it's often an area that I think is quite easy to target in terms of making small improvements. So thinking about, increasing the vegetables, the fruits, the beans, the lentils, grains, nuts and seeds in your diet is something that you could change pretty easily just by making a decision, really. The next area is exercise. So really, really important, especially for all of us sitting in front of computers all day long, not moving around. Making sure you're moving every day. Also, I've noticed in lockdown that a lot of my clients have actually been letting their exercise drop off. So thinking about ways to bring some movement into your life, whether that's going for a walk or doing things around the house, increasing exercise is a real easy win in terms of making yourself feel a little bit better. Developing strategies to manage stress. So obviously stress has negative impacts on your well-being, your productivity. Over time, it can lead to things like depression, and it can impact your immune system. So getting really responsible for how you're living, the workload that you've got, particularly if you're someone who's maybe a leader in an organisation, what sort of well-being behaviours are you modelling to the other staff in your organisation to help them to manage stress and also to help manage your own stress. I think we're kind of on a turning point with respect to stress. Even in the last few years, it was still kind of cool to be really busy. That's starting to be less desirable at the moment, which is a real positive for our overall well-being. So relationships, obviously critical to our mental health. We really need other people. They help us to make sense of ourselves in the world. They help us to feel like we matter, and they help us to feel grounded. And we know that at the moment there's quite a lot of people in Melbourne particularly who have been really isolated, people living alone. Luckily they can now have an ISO buddy, which seems kind of ludicrous if we think about it. But thinking about your relationships, what you can do to maintain and foster relationships that really are supportive of you. Sleep. So another topic that we've talked about a little bit in some of these sessions. People have been having really strange dreams during the pandemic, and that makes sense, of course, because your physical system is under a lot of stress, and you're kind of on high alert a lot of the time. So what we're seeing is some strange dreams going on. But managing your sleep, thinking about your sleep hygiene factors is another easy win in terms of well-being. I know that some people have sleep issues, so sometimes talking about sleep isn't as easy as we think, but it's definitely a big area that has a major impact on how you feel. And then the last one, avoiding risky substances. So we all know that smoking and alcohol and different sorts of drugs might have a negative impact on your well-being, whether that's causing cancers or heart diseases. So thinking about eliminating or reducing the use of any of these in your life is also a good idea. So taking a look at this, this lifestyle model, think about some of the areas that you might be doing really well in. And, usually we might have a couple of these areas that kind of come naturally to us, and other areas that come less naturally. So think about what you're doing well in. Also have a think about are there any areas in this model that maybe you'd like to improve? So for example, you might be really great when it comes to exercise and managing your stress, but maybe there's room for improvement in your diet. And then finally, are there any areas that you're actually struggling with? Are there any areas where maybe you actually need some help and support? It could be from, you know, a psychologist, maybe it's a dietitian, maybe it's a personal trainer. Have a think about any areas that you might need some support with. And what we thought we would do at this point is just open up the chat for some discussion, maybe reflecting on those 1 to 10 ratings that you gave yourself in terms of your wellbeing earlier on in the conversation. And we'd also love to hear from you any reflections that you've made about your own wellbeing at the moment, any areas that you're doing really well, any areas that you want to improve, or any areas that maybe you're struggling with a little bit.
Thank you, Amelia. I really loved those slides and the meditation as well. And also congratulations to everyone who's come on board and taken the time out today to be part of this discussion. I'm going to stop the recording and ask people to feel free